About the wonderfully great Stevie Ray Vaughan. What information do you have for these good folks about the wonderful legend that is Stevie Ray Vaughan? We are both from Texas, so I know you personally find this man to be one of the greats. So give us a little bit of background. Where did he come from? How did he grow up?
Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's from Dallas, Texas, which is where I'm from, and he ironically wanted to ditch Dallas as fast as humanly possible. But he was born October 3rd, 1954, to a Jimmy Lee Vaughan and a Martha Jean Vaughan. He had a brother named Jimmy Vaughan, and together they all grew up in the Oak Cliff neighborhood over in Dallas, Texas. So that's where his whole journey is going to begin. And he actually spent a good portion of the first part of his whole musical career in the Dallas area. What drove him away was actually the whole Dallas music scene just pretty much drying up and not being what it was. Where when he was growing up, he would go watch a lot of the big blues guys who, when Dallas at that point in time, whether it be like the 50s and stuff like that, 60s, that was huge for Dallas, and there was a lot of big blues guys like BB King, stuff like that coming through. So he grew up watching these big guys play in Dallas, and then it just died by the time he was old enough to even get on a stage. So early on in his life, he actually, the way he got into guitar was his older brother, Jimmy, had a guitar. And when Jimmy would have to leave to go, I think it was to go to work, stuff like that, go out with his girlfriend and stuff, Stevie would go into his room and grab his guitar and start jamming away on it. Back in that time before YouTube and the internet, they would actually put on records. And Stevie had quoted several times talking about that he was surprised he didn't damage his ears before being a professional musician because of putting his head so close to the speakers trying to figure out what Jimi Hendrix was playing. That was his man, that was
Yeah,
his dude. But Stevie Ray Vaughan would have
yeah,
his ear like right next to the
yeah.
speaker trying to hear each individual note.
dude, 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 those guys, them old guys, man, they were crazy, man. They didn't have ultimate guitar or tablature books like we did. These guys literally were burning up records because they're like, no, I gotta play it again, I gotta play it again, I gotta play it. I mean, I can tell you about a bunch of old guitar heads that they had to buy, like Back in Black or uh a Led Zeppelin album multiple times because they just wore the vinyl out on that thing, trying to figure out what they were playing. Okay, so let me just ask you a question because I know um, that you're a huge fan of Stevie. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know anything about your boy here, Clay bought Polaroids at a guitar show of Stevie that a guy took who was on tour with him. And he just took them with his camera, like he was on the side of the stage. They're awesome. And he was just like, yes. How much did you pay for those?
For the whole set, which I mean, it was a good
It
stack of
is thick.
photos.
It's a
Yeah.
good stack.
I think I paid like somewhere around like $200 or something like that. I bought a bundle of stuff, so I don't know. I don't remember exactly what each thing cost. I just remember how much I spent at the guy's booth, but it was worth every
So
penny.
I bring this up to bring you credibility when I ask this question and people understand who is answering it. A fanatic here. That's what the term means, Clay Johnson, when it comes to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Okay. Now, what made Stevie different from other young guitar players?
The first and biggest thing that made him different, and this is what people like BB King and others that actually ended up playing with him later on because they were bigger as Stevie was coming up. He didn't quit. There was one time that, and his brother Jimmy's told this story a couple of times, but that Albert King was playing at a show at a place. I don't remember the exact place it was, but Stevie had gone in there and gone to somebody in management. Somebody was like, "Hey, I want to go play with them," and they actually went back and asked him. And he was like, "Nobody just comes back here and plays. Like, who is this?" And so he would just do stuff like that to get in with the greats. And when it comes to learning guitar when you can put yourself in the same room as someone who knows more than you. That's the fastest way to get good at any instrument is somebody who knows more that can specifically point and say, hey, here's exactly what you do.
Now,
So
real quick, correct me if I'm wrong. He couldn't read music, right?
correct. Yeah. He could not read
Okay.
music.
Okay.
Past a certain level, he knew basic music stuff, and he definitely picked more up along the way as he worked with more fine, like refined musicians and stuff like that. But in the broad aspect of things, he really could not read any kind of music because he learned from putting his ear up to the records and just literally learning by ear. Which
Yeah.
from a guitarist standpoint, any guitarist that can just hear something and learn how to play it, that's a whole different level of
It's a
music.
whole different level.
Not everybody can do
Yeah.
that.
No. No, they can't. Well, I that's a that's a strong take, and I love it. I agree. Um, he did he did have a certain way about him. I mean, when you talk about any of the greats, you definitely they do different things. Like didn't he used to he messed with his pickups and stuff. Like he would just, like take the pair of pliers to him and pull parts up, see how it sounded. And
Yep.
Jimmy Page used to do the same thing with his amps.
Yep.
So yeah, it just takes a different kind of mind, I guess. The will to make things happen, even if it's just a sound.
And kind of
So
speaking on that, that is there's a lot of people who chase the Stevie Ray Vaughan sound, and it is things like doing stuff like that with the pliers and the pickups. Like he was always messing with stuff, and that's what made his sound not replicable. It's not just a certain pedal or a certain amp but to get a Stevie Ray Vaughan tone. It's so much more than that.
mhm. What bugs me is when I think about, they sell the Texas specials, which, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, if you want to get as close to Stevie Ray Vaughan's sound without using pliers, it's called the Texas Special pickups from Fender. There was one thing that bugs me about that. The way they figured out how to make those pickups is they took his guitar apart and that moved dirt. Do you know how much tone was in that dirt, Fender? Do you know? Huh? So, but other than that, you know what? We'll just drop it there because I'll get emotional, and people don't need to see me passionate. How about this? Tell me where we're going now. Like, okay, so we don't have much of an early life for him when it comes to his music career because he started playing at 11. So, like playing, trying to be in shows at 11 and stuff. So, um, what what where is he going now? He's leaving Dallas. Has he left Dallas yet?
He's
Have we
on his
got
way
there?
out. He's
He's on
moving
his way
quickly
out.
on his
Okay.
way out. Yeah, he did not
Continue the
stick around
story,
in
good
Dallas too
sir.
long. So part of what's going to push him out of Dallas is not just music. He didn't have the I don't want to say the greatest upbringing. His dad was very hard on him. His dad did not understand the level that he was trying to chase music. His dad played, and Stevie like had times that his dad would have musicians over, and that was part of how Jimmy, his older brother, learned. But his dad was not about leaving school and going to pursue a life of music. Like his dad worked a job and then played music as a hobby, like most of us guitarists are going to, and played in the church, stuff like that. But what really started to push Stevie out more than just family was that the music scene in Dallas was dying. It wasn't as thriving. People weren't coming here trying to find new talent. Big bands weren't coming here, and that was a lot of how you got discovered in that time. Is the right name comes through town, and you make yourself known, like Stevie was known to do, and all of a sudden you have a big name artist asking you to come do something with them, and that's going to launch anybody's career at that point in time. So he's starting to move out for a couple of reasons. He dropped out of school. Things aren't going well at home. His dad's not understanding. Pretty much his dad says what almost every one of our parents probably said: if you drop out of school, good luck. You're paying for your own stuff. Like, get your own
Yeah.
place. Get out of my house. I'm
Yeah.
not paying your way no more. So He had a lot of tough choices, and I mean, he had a lot of nights sleeping in bars, sleeping on pool tables after shows, stuff like that. I mean, that was the life he led to get where he knew he deserved to be at.
I think it's so interesting how many people like Stevie become these great legends, but at one point they all were at some point homeless. You know what I mean? Like they all sacrificed. They made that sacrifice. You know, I want this dream more than a clean bed and a hot meal. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's
Yeah,
it's
it's
crazy.
dedication.
Is huge dedication. So where we go from there? What happened to him then? Is there a
So
light at the end of the tunnel?
there's bright light at the end of the tunnel. It's still a little ways away, but so next he's going to start moving to Austin. Austin is going to be the next big city closest to him. I believe it's a little bit closer than Houston, but I don't think there was a whole lot of a music scene at that point in time, really, in the Houston area.
No, I
So
the 70s, that's just about the time that you got Willie and Waylon starting their thing up. So
it's
this
just
is
not
before
Stevie.
Austin.
They're a little
Yeah, it's
quieter
not.
than Stevie.
Yeah, yeah. It's not Stevie, but that's really what starts this whole exodus of the hippies to Austin. Is you've got Willie and Waylon, and that's what makes this whole music scene blow up. Is them going there, and that's what turned it into what it is today, the live music capital of the world. Wasn't like that back then. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as far as music is concerned, now I don't know. It's been a while since I've been there, but Austin is still a very happening place for music now. Um, I don't know how discovered. You don't really need the same type of tactics these days, but there's still great live music in Austin on a regular basis. So yeah, he's making his way to Austin, and he does what pretty much every other musician going to Austin does, and just literally throws himself at whatever door will let him come inside and play. And he would play as long as they asked him to play for. He'd 3, 4, 5, 6 hour sets. I mean, it didn't matter, and he would take whatever money he could get. He wasn't like turning jobs down. Like, oh no, I'm not going to sit here for 6 hours for $50. He's like, yeah, bring it on. Can you give me a place to sleep too? Can I use your pool table and possibly your bathroom?
I just need a wet wipe.
Yeah. So yeah, he started making his way through Austin, and that's ultimately where Double Trouble formed, and he starts moving into a whole new stage of his career journey.
Lot of trouble. Lot of trouble.
A lot of trouble. Double the
Double the
trouble.
trouble.
Double the trouble.
I gotta ask, because we're both from Texas. We know how pivotal the blues was to our culture growing up. I mean, uh, you can't go anywhere without there being some joint with blues music playing. Some musician is playing a blues song uh, at a show, a live show. And one of the biggest words that gets thrown around a lot is he's a blues man, and they say things like this when they talk about like Muddy Waters, BB King. Um, what was it about Stevie? Because people call him a blues man. What was it about Stevie that made him a blues man? What was that essence, if you will?
The essence comes, I think, from if you watch any of his live performances. When you watch that man hold his instrument and play his instrument, he's one with that instrument in a way that nobody else is. You can see him play with all of his emotion. It just oozes from his fingertips, and I think that's largely what's responsible for making it very difficult to emulate Stevie. It was something he had deep within him, and I think that like when we talk about any blues men, that's the commonality right there. Is it's something that's just deep within them that they all kind of share together. And I feel like in most cases when one blues man walks in front of another, they kind of know right away, like, hey, that's somebody like me.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, it's funny that you say he oozed it. That's a great word to use. Because whenever he's playing, it literally looks like he's just doing this, the whole time, and it sounds great. And you're like, this guy is just up there, just having the best time ever. He does not care, and yeah, that's great. So what? Let's get into like Stevie's getting famous, right? So because from what I understand, yes, there was a lot of hard work and there was a lot of years of work underneath it, but there were some pivotal moments that put him on the map. What are those?
I would say for sure the Montreal Jazz Festival. That was, I mean, that was a stepping stone for him himself in his career. That was something he wanted to achieve. And then also, I would say it equally had a huge part in propelling him into the next stage of his career, which was going to be something I don't think, quite frankly, any of the three original members of Double Trouble were quite ready for.
From what I understand, there were mixed reviews about that, which is funny. It's funny that that is one of the things that put him on the map because not everybody was keen on it, but I do know that it did grab a lot of attention for him, and it got him into some pretty famous eyes looking at him, right? So
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. It
tell
definitely
me
got
tell
him
me
in
about
front of
that.
the right people.
Tell me. So Montreal, he goes, that goes well, and he's playing around Austin, right? He's gotten to Austin, and he's got Double Trouble. Um, there were a couple of bands before that, and I believe he's married at this time, right? He
Yep.
had married Lenny by this point, yes.
Mhm.
And so he got in with David Bowie, which is actually really interesting. The whole I believe it's the whole album. He plays on the whole Let's Dance album. And from what I understand, David Bowie was trying to get him to play on the road with him, but he said, "No, I ain't doing that, son." So, like, it's funny when you see the Let's Dance video, you see David Bowie holding the guitar like he played it or something, and we know he didn't play it. That's very clearly Stevie. Once I heard that that was Stevie, I was like, "Yeah, that's him. That is totally him." Um,
Yeah.
but but so he gets through with Bowie and now he's on the map, right? So where is he at with Texas Flood? That comes up right. Now I know, being a fanatic, you you know more about Texas Flood than I do. So give me your hot take on this impossible album recorded in 2 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Texas Flood has got to be one of my favorite albums. It was one of the first albums I heard from him and one of the first songs I heard from him that got me even on the Stevie train to begin with. So, Texas Flood holds a very near and dear spot to my heart. It was his debut album. It was released June 13th, 1983 on Epic Records, and it featured the original three. It featured Stevie obviously playing lead guitar and vocals, Tommy Shannon, and Chris Layton on the drums. Those were the three original, and those were the only three except for the keyboardist that came along later on. Um, but Texas Flood featured, I would say, a very diverse side of Stevie. It really showed. It was a great debut album for him because it really showed like his skill set. It really showed his diversity. He wasn't just somebody repeating Hendrix songs. It was, I mean, he Mary Had a Little Lamb. If you haven't heard that by Stevie Ray Vaughan, somehow he made a nursery rhyme worth listening
All of
to as an
them.
adult.
All of them.
Like that takes a
I'm
special
just sitting
skill.
there. I'm just sitting there going, a tisk, a tisk.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but Stevie just he could take anything and make it better. Yeah, I'm probably going to get hated on in the comment section for this, but Stevie Ray Vaughan's Voodoo Child, I think, is better than the Hendrix version. I'm sure that a ton of people are going to just kill me for that, but I would rather listen to the Stevie version.
He, man, and I've heard people that knew him talk about this, man. He could just tap in to Jimmy. That
Hmm.
was his guy, man.
That's where he
Yeah,
learned.
yeah, and I mean, nobody plays Jimmy like Stevie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
crazy to say.
He's probably the only person on the planet that could even come close to outdoing Hendrix on one of his own songs. And Stevie did several of the Hendrix songs, and I mean he knocks them out of the park every time. He does not do injustice by that song. He's worthy of covering those songs.
Yes, sir.
Little Wing is a spectacle to listen to.
It is. It's man. With that being said, we'd say that Stevie is at the top at this point.
Hmm.
And uh I've got to say he had a lot of struggles that were I thought I heard some people who lived the blues, but nobody lived the blues quite like Stevie did, man.
That is very true.
Okay, tell me if I'm wrong. I heard that he would wake up in the morning hungover and he would take a shot of whiskey and he would put cocaine in
That is true. He would
to
do that for shows
to
too.
wake up.
Hmm?
And the cocaine addiction took hold of your boy now. He was on another level when it came to it.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of critics would agree his second album showed it.
So his second album definitely was not as successful as his first. Texas Flood, Couldn't Stand the Weather came on the scene in 1984, and I would say it reflected that he was at least going through something. We'll leave it at that. Whatever that something was and causing, and that we was only speculation at this point. But I would say that it was apparent that something was happening. With that being said, not every song on Couldn't Stand the Weather was just complete garbage and not even worth listening to. It's all worth listening to, but in specific, a song "Things I Used to Do," man, that is one of my absolute favorites. It's on his greatest hits album, and watching him do it live is something absolutely amazing. Another one, Cold Shot. I really like that. Couldn't Stand the Weather. Actually, the title of the album was one of the songs that it's just not. It was not one of my favorites, but another song on that album, and this was a very pivotal song for him off of this album because this opened the door for something else that he ended up doing that helped him along the way as well as far as exposure because there was something happening at about this moment that was going to be huge for music, and that something is MTV. So the song is Scuttle Button, and he did a show, an unplugged show on MTV where he played an acoustic show. I think he did like three songs, and one of them was Scuttle Button. And when you hear him play that on an acoustic guitar, for any of our guitarists out there in the audience, playing any of his stuff on an acoustic guitar is just one step even more difficult than playing it on an electric guitar. Everything's just a little bit more difficult on acoustic, but watching him just absolutely get down on this song on MTV, that was huge. I love watching that video. I was not alive at that point in time. I was 5 years away, but if you haven't seen that MTV Unplugged episode, definitely go check that out. But there was a lot of good stuff that came from the album, but it was very apparent that he was having some issues.
Yeah, I think the addiction got really bad. I even heard that the piano in the studio was had two piles of cocaine. And when we're talking piles here, ladies and gentlemen, we don't mean like, oh, someone dropped their coke on the piano. We mean that somebody took 2 bags of flour and then just dumped them on the piano, but it weren't flour. You know what I mean? There's a lot of booger sugar going around the studio. I mean, only someone on that kind of messed up thing will be playing ping pong in the studio that they're paying for. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that
he
is
had
very true.
he had problems.
Hmm.
The he did end up going to rehab though, and I think and correct me if I'm wrong here. He had like vomited blood,
Hmm.
and one of the band members told him, "You need to go to the doctor," and he said, "Nah, I need a drink." And he said, "No, you need to go to the doctor. You don't need a drink." He said, "I know, but I need a drink." So that's that's a level of sickness that I don't think I'm too familiar with. And fortunately, there was life at the end of that rainbow.
There
Um,
was.
uh, and from what I understand, he spent every day of his life helping anybody he could get clean.
Mm,
After that, he did actually get clean, and uh, I think one live performance I was watching, uh, he was at one point in the song he started. It was like he was preaching to the audience the dangers of drugs, and that's a beautiful thing to hear someone be that low and come back out, and then come out with the album he came out with next. Um, his third album, man, people liked it. People enjoyed it. They thought that was the thing. I mean, you have a man who has been to the depths of addiction, lost his wife. Okay, she's gone. She ain't got nothing to do with him because he said himself he was feeding more the fame. And I think actually in an interview he actually said, "I still got the first wife. She stays with me. No, it's my strap."
yeah.
Coming out of the addiction and rehab, and on the other side he comes out with his third album, In Step. And I know we've talked about it before. My favorite song is Crossfire, hands down, on this album. Every time that song comes on, I'm stuck in the cross. Let's do it. I'm here, but we're gonna do it, baby. And you are someone who has probably listened to this album more than I have thought about it. So tell me your critique on his final album, In Step. What did you think?
Well, again, he did a great job of paying homage to yet again another just undeniably great musician. Crossfire is one of Stevie Wonder's songs, and he really enjoys not stealing it. I don't like that. I think a lot of
He
people
covered
I've
it.
yeah, but I've talked to a lot of people who discredit Stevie because he didn't write as much as he did take other songs and remake them. And I don't think that that discredits his abilities. I think that he just spent his time paying homage to the people he respected in the industry. It wasn't about like, hey, I can do what you do and do it better. It was, hey, I appreciate what you did for me. Here's what you taught me. And so that song was very much in the area of he wanted to show like, hey, I really appreciate what I've been able to learn from you as far as music is concerned. So that was one of the biggest parts of the album. Wall of Denial was a song that I really like. It's something that sounds different. It's not as bluesy, so I would say somebody who maybe wants to try Stevie Ray Vaughan but doesn't like the hardcore slow blues type stuff. Wall of Denial is kind of an upbeat, kind of more rock style song. So it's got a lot of flavor on it. It's got a little bit of everything for everyone. I feel like where some of the other albums were really geared around blues, heavy blues.
Yeah. Well, as we know, that was his last album, and there was the accident that took place. Um, walk us walk us in the audience through what happened that day. Now I know I've said it before, but Crossfire was my favorite song on the album, and I guess I'm just a sheep that follows the rest of the flock because apparently that was his only number one hit ever.
Yeah, that is true. Crossfire was their number one hit. It hit the Billboard Top 100 as number one. This album had a couple other songs on it that I felt like were kind of standouts as far as being kind of still bluesy, but still a little bit different. One of them being Riviera Paradise. He doesn't do a whole lot of just instrumental onlys, and that was another one that I felt like really it had a lot of dynamic to it. It was a song that just kind of kept you guessing. You didn't really know where it was going to go next. It was up and down and slow and kind of pick and pace and stuff like that. And I felt like it was kind of nice to hear a song without all the vocals and just hear him sing with his guitar. A lot of guitarists talking about singing with their guitar, and he was one of the best to do so. One of the songs that stood out to me is something I've listened to for quite some time now. It's definitely one of my favorites off the album, and that's Leave My Girl Alone. And it was just a really nice, kind of slow, bluesy song, and it had some in your face riffs. He really hammered down on that tube screamer and made you feel the riffs in that song.
Yeah, he um, he definitely was special. It definitely was his second voice, the guitar, and that's what really makes this story go from sad to happy to sadder. Is eventually it did come to an end, and it's a sad day for music the day he died. And why don't you tell us about that day um, of the crash?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a very, very sad day. We lost somebody truly great to the music industry in a whole, not even basing it down as genre, just music in whole. That day was August 25th, going into August 26th of 1990. It happened late at night, kind of transitioning from midnight to the next day. Stevie and Double Trouble had just finished up playing back to back nights at the Alpine Valley Music Theater. And when it was time to leave, that was in Wisconsin. They were flying back to, I believe, Chicago. They had another show coming up. And this is where the story is actually, I don't know if it's even more heartbreaking or how you really wrap your head around what actually happened in the next part. So Stevie was there with Double Trouble, and there were several other big names there. Eric Clapton, Robert Cray, Jimmy Vaughan, Stevie's older brother, was there. There was a lot of big names playing at this show, and there was a line of helicopters waiting to take all the artists to where they were going after the show, because where they were playing at was kind of in the middle of nowhere. There wasn't hotels just right up the road or anything like that. So they were going to fly back to the city and stay there. So the helicopter that Stevie ended up getting on was actually the helicopter that Eric Clapton was supposed to be riding on. But Eric Clapton, Stevie needed to get somewhere. He had a more pressing situation that he needed to be at, and Eric didn't. And so Clapton, being the guy he is, was like, "Hey man, go ahead. Mine's ready to go. Go ahead and hop on mine, take it, and I'll wait longer for this other one to get ready," because they were having some kind of issues or something like that. It needed fuel or mechanical fix. There was something that was going to make it take longer. So helicopter takes off. It's fairly routine, but it is foggy that night, and there's some weird stories around it, some conspiracy theories about, because helicopter pilots have a little bit different set of rules to follow than like traditional airplane pilots. There's other things with helicopters, and if you have certain conditions that meet certain levels, you're supposed to follow different sets of rules, and it's hard to confirm what was done and what wasn't done. But ultimately, yes, the helicopter ended up colliding into a ski slope. The pilot had misjudged the altitude and did not know, because of the fog, that there was an incoming higher elevation, and they ended up catching that. And everybody on board of that helicopter apparently died on impact. But Yeah, that was 1990. That was he is one artist that if I could go back and see anybody that's not available to see, he is the person. He's number one on my list. That's who I'd go see, hands down. God has a plan for everybody, and that was his plan. So he gave us what he was supposed to give us while he was here, and it was time for him to go home.
Life by the drop, baby. Life
One
by
of
the
my
drop.
favorites. Also, I love that song.
Yes, that's a great song.
If you
Well,
haven't if you haven't seen Stevie play behind his back or with his mouth, I
yeah,
highly
it's
recommend you
crazy.
just at
It's
least
so
YouTube
crazy.
that.
He's crazy, man. He's crazy.
He'll play
Well,
just as skillfully behind his back as he will in front, and that's not common at all. Not at all.
it's, you know, it. You really have to watch those live shows to appreciate what we're talking about. Ladies
Mm,
and gentlemen, w- me and Clay, we both have played guitar, and music has been our life pretty much since we were kids. And whenever we hear something crazy, and we look at our family and go, "Dude, did you hear that?" And they go, "Yeah." They don't understand that we understand what just happened, and
yeah,
it was not something that a fingers are supposed to do.
yeah.
Okay. And when you watch these live videos of Stevie playing, you see why he's such a big deal. I mean, I feel like Stevie's kind of like our Frank Zappa, you know. Like I grew up, and I went half my life without knowing who Frank Zappa was, and I feel like a lot of people are the same way. And with Stevie, and it's a shame. It's a real shame because had that helicopter gone differently, um, and Clapton had been on it, I think we'd be in a different future. I think we would have seen roles reversed right there on that.
I don't know that
Uh,
I'd want to know music without Clapton either. Like
I
that's
don't
what I was.
either.
That's the twist.
It's
Like if
is that
one of
the
them's got to
choice?
die, like yeah, like well that's awful. That's
It's
terrible.
terrible. That's terrible.
But
Well,
Stevie
hey
did things with
guys,
his hands that most people couldn't.
yes, guys, let us know in the comments what you think. Check out Stevie. Tell us what you think about him. Um, are we just a bunch of guys blowing hot air, or was it true? Was he really this amazing guitar saint that we keep talking on and on about? I mean, I'm going to say something controversial, and I'm sure I'm going to get tore up in the comments. Hendrix is a little overrated, if you ask me. He's awesome. Don't get me wrong. He was the first to do what he did, just like Johannes Gutenberg was the first person to print the Bible. That doesn't mean that he's in charge of all the Bibles, though. So I don't understand what the thing is with Stevie. I mean, with Jimmy, you know, and Stevie took Jimmy's playing, which in my opinion is very sloppy, and he turned it into this beautiful, clean, where Jimmy was jazz, Stevie was rock. You know what I mean? That's the best way to explain it. Like, yes, Jimi Hendrix was a rock player, but he was just so sloppy, and it was all about how it felt. Jimmy, what he felt was right, and that's what made him different, in my opinion.
I would definitely agree with that. I would agree with the claim of that. I just Hendrix is very sloppy and not discrediting his work. I like the little tighter of the playing that Stevie plays with. It just sounds more structured. It sounds more intentional. Like every time I hear Hendrix, it seems like he was just. I mean, not knocking this, but he was just jamming. Like it wasn't like a
Almost
structured.
like he was on heroin or something.
But this is the argument that everybody has, and I'm throwing my chips into the ring of I am going to say without a shadow of a doubt, Stevie Ray Vaughan is the greatest guitar player to play ever.
I want to say yes to this so bad. I want to say yes, but my brain is throwing too many hats into the ring on that.
So
And that's
here's
go on.
where I think that the claim holds a lot of value. So a lot of people talk about Jimi Hendrix being like, I mean, the hero that he is. Like, I mean, they put Hendrix up very high on a pedestal as far as who's the best in rock is concerned. If we can sit here and say that Voodoo Child and Little Wing are hands down better songs done by Stevie Ray Vaughan, why can he not be in the argument for the greatest guitar player ever? So here's my thing. Find me another guitarist that took somebody that we already think to be the greatest and said, "Hold my beer and watch this." There's a bunch of great guitarists out there, but they're great in their own lane. How many people have jumped into another lane and said, "I'm going to outdo the best"?
That's that's fair. That is.
Makes you ponder.
It makes me ponder. I can't give you 100% on this. One day I might, but I can't give you 100% on this. But I will say he is definitely in the top five.
I would
Definitely
agree.
in the top five down. Hendrix is not in the top five for me, everybody. I'm very sorry. He's definitely in the top 20, but not in the top five.
Not in my top five either.
No, no. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone through the life of the late, great Stevie Ray Vaughan. We've talked about his growing up in Dallas, his rise to fame in Austin, the hardships he's gone through with drug addiction, and the sophomore slump, as some people call it, and coming out of the ashes like a phoenix on the rise to tell the world, this is the blues. This is how I feel. And I don't care what you think. You need to know what's in here. He had something to say and he told it to us. And we are all a little bit better by knowing someone else out there feels the pains that we feel every day. Stevie Ray Vaughan was a monumental man in a monumental time that made everybody around him feel welcomed and loved. And because of that, we pay homage and honor to him. At this time, I want to say thank you. You made it. You stayed till the end of this video. We are having a blast with these videos. We are loving everything you guys are doing. You're watching the videos. It's making us feel like people actually want to know the things that we've spent our whole life learning. And it's great. What would help us out even more is if you would hit the like and subscribe button, because that's going to let us know somebody out there actually cares about what we're doing. And if you want to see more content like this, shoot it down in the comments. Tell us what you want us to talk about. What band do you want? You want the Eagles? Do you want Kiss? Do you want us to do albums? We'll do a whole album if you want. We are here to fit your musical and historical needs. And that is what the file cabinet is all about.